The role and mechanism of pistons in internal combustion engines. A piston is a component of reciprocating engines, reciprocating pumps, gas compressors, hydraulic cylinders and pneumatic cylinders, among other similar mechanisms. It is the moving component that is contained by a cylinder and is made gas-tight by piston rings. In an engine, its purpose is to transfer force from expanding gas in the cylinder to the crankshaft via a piston rod and/or connecting rod. In a pump, the function is reversed and force is transferred from the crankshaft to the piston for the purpose of compressing or ejecting the fluid in the cylinder. In some engines, the piston also acts as a valve by covering and uncovering ports in the cylinder. Internal combustion engines. An internal combustion engine is acted upon by the pressure of the expanding combustion gases in the combustion chamber space at the top of the cylinder. This force then acts downwards through the connecting rod and onto the crankshaft. The connecting rod is attached to the piston by a swiveling gudgeon pin, U.S. wrist pin. This pin is mounted within the piston. Unlike the steam engine, there is no piston rod or crosshead, except big two-stroke engines. High-power diesel engines work in difficult conditions. Maximum pressure in the combustion chamber can reach 20 megapascals and maximum temperature of some piston surfaces can exceed 450 degrees Celsius. It is possible to improve piston cooling by creating special cooling cavity. Injector supplies this cooling cavity, A, with oil through oil supply channel, B. For better temperature reduction, construction should be carefully calculated and analyzed. Oil flow in the cooling cavity should be not less than 80% of the oil flow through the injector. The pin itself is of hardened steel and is fixed in the piston, but free to move in the connecting rod. A few designs use a fully floating design that is loose in both components. All pins must be prevented from moving sideways and the ends of the pin digging into the cylinder wall. Usually by circlips. Gas sealing is achieved by the use of piston rings. These are a number of narrow iron rings, fitted loosely into grooves in the piston, just below the crown. The rings are split at a point in the rim, allowing them to press against the cylinder with a light spring pressure. Two types of ring are used. The upper rings have solid faces and provide gas sealing. Lower rings have narrow edges and a U-shaped profile, to act as oil scrapers. There are many proprietary and detailed design features associated with piston rings. The four-stroke engine is also referred to as the Otto cycle engine after its inventor N.A. Otto. Most cars use the four-stroke engine. An individual cycle comprises 4 strokes: 1. Intake stroke, 2. Compression stroke, 3. Power stroke and 4. Exhaust stroke. These 4 strokes repeat to generate the crankshaft revolution. Plus intake stroke. The intake stroke draws air and fuel into the combustion chamber. The piston descends in the cylinder bore to evacuate the combustion chamber. When the inlet valve opens, atmospheric pressure forces the air-fuel charge into the evacuated chamber. As a result, the combustible mixture of fuel and air fills the chamber. Plus compression stroke. At the end of the intake stroke, both inlet and exhaust valves are closed. The inertial action of the crankshaft in turn lifts the piston, which compresses the mixture. The ratio of the combustion chamber volume before and after compression is called the compression ratio. Plus power stroke. When the piston ascends and reaches top dead center, an electric current ignites the spark plug, and as the mixed gas burns, it expands and builds pressure in the combustion chamber. The resulting pressure pushes the piston down with several tons of force. Plus exhaust stroke. During the exhaust stroke, the inlet valve remains closed whilst the exhaust valve opens. The moving piston pushes the burned fumes through the now open exhaust port, and another intake stroke starts again. During one cycle, the piston makes 2 round trips and the crankshaft revolves twice. The inlet and exhaust valves open and close only once. The ignition plug also sparks only once. A petrol engine, whether 4 or 2-stroke, is called a spark ignition (SI) engine because it fires with an ignition plug. The 4-stroke cycle engine contains the lubricating oil in the crankcase. The oil both lubricates the crankshaft bearings and cools the hot piston.